the wild boars had appeared. They had flooded the lawn and fields, only a short distance from the residential area. If we didn't act immediately, the consequences would be extremely serious. Without hesitation, I immediately grabbed my flashlight and weapon and rushed out of the house. This wasn't the first time wild boars had flooded, but this time, the damage was too great, and we couldn't continue to stand idly by. As soon as we arrived, the scene before our eyes made us shocked. The wild boars appeared all over the fields, large and small groups scattered everywhere, destroying the crops in the dark night. Realizing the urgency of the situation, we quickly took action. When everything was stable, I chose a suitable shooting angle, carefully observed. Everything was ready. We opened fire simultaneously. The first gunshots rang out, and quite a few wild pigs were taken down. The shocking sound of the gunshots caused the whole herd to panic and run away. Not giving them a chance to escape, we immediately launched a second attack, continuing to take down a number of other targets. While we were planning the next attack, a familiar sound rang out in the quiet night. Before my eyes was a herd of about 10 wild pigs, led by a giant female leader pig, advancing forward. Taking advantage of the hidden position, when the leader entered the sight, I decisively pulled the trigger. The boar fell down on the spot. The herd of pigs behind quickly ran away, but no target could escape my control. Some wild boars rushed towards the cornfield to hide, but with the thermal scope, they could not escape my sight at all. In the end, each target was taken down one by one. After destroying the wild boars in the field, the group quickly moved towards the grassy area at the edge of the forest. As expected, the wild boars were still leisurely foraging, completely unaware of the lurking danger. We approached carefully, taking each step lightly so as not to reveal our position. Once in the ideal shooting range, I held the gun firmly, chose the vital points such as the head and neck, then pulled the trigger. One shot, one kill. My teammates were equally tense. He was also fighting, taking down the wild boars before they escaped. In the dark, they were completely off guard and did not know that danger was approaching. Observing carefully, I chose the largest wild boar as the target. After the crisp gunshots, the wild boar was completely defeated. Discovering the collapse of its comrade, the wild boar quickly scattered in all directions to escape. In the midst of the chaos, a wild boar had yet to realize the danger. Ignoring the impending danger, it continued to forage, its survival instincts overshadowed by hunger. Immediately raising my gun, I resolutely pulled the trigger, taking down the target with a perfect shot. Adjusting the scope, I carefully scanned the surrounding area. Between the large tree trunks, a dark shadow appeared and disappeared, moving slowly but cautiously. Focusing my observation, I realized that it was a large wild boar, estimated to weigh about 150 kilograms. Not missing the opportunity, I immediately launched an attack. When the boar stepped out, exposing its body in the open, I immediately pulled the trigger. It was almost dawn. For a final check, the group scanned the surrounding area, making sure not to miss any targets. The remaining wild boars were quickly taken down. At the end of the night hunt, more than 20 wild boars were taken down, promptly preventing the pigs from destroying crops and people's property. However, hunting wild boars the only solution or just a temporary solution? Are there any other ways to control the wild boar population? Leave your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting hunts.
Farmers today not only grow and care for crops, but also protect their crops from the invasion of wild boars. Where I live, farmers have the habit of hunting wild boars, which happens all year round, because they can appear at any time. Today, in our free time, we will continue our hunting trip to control the wild boar population. Let's follow along to see the final results. In Brazil, the increase in the number of wild boars has become a serious threat to agriculture. Herds of wild boars destroy crops, eat crops, and damage the land, causing great losses to farmers. To protect their crops, many farmers are forced to organize hunting trips as a means of driving away the animals. However, this solution is only temporary and cannot completely solve the problem. Brazilian farmers do not want the conflict between them and wild boars to last long, because it greatly affects their lives. But before there is a more sustainable solution, they still need to go on hunting trips. On today's patrol, we brought hunting dogs to track wild boars more effectively. Under the bright sunlight, I looked out over the vast fields with rows of green young trees. The car sped across the rough ground, quickly approaching the target. There it is. A wild boar was busy foraging in the middle of the field. I stopped the car, raised my gun, and fired a few shots in succession, but it sped away at a terrifying speed. The chase continued until the distance gradually narrowed. I focused all my attention on the decisive shot. With my efforts, I was finally able to kill him. A few minutes later, The loud barking of the dogs led me to a lush cornfield, which was about to be harvested. This was an ideal place for wild boars to hide, with abundant food sources and dense corn rows as cover. Fearing that they would destroy the entire field, I hurriedly followed the trail. After a long distance, the target appeared before my eyes. In a short moment, I quickly raised my gun, aimed, and fired a shot. The wild boar ran away, but its panicked steps gradually slowed down. It could not escape this pursuit.
Calma, calma, calma. Calma, calma. 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 Vai, vai. Tá conta?
In the cornfield, the wild boars had raged, causing many corn plants to fall. The damage was clearly visible before our eyes. We immediately searched around the area, patiently waiting in tense silence. The barking of dogs grew closer and closer, signaling that the wild boar was very close. Luckily, one of the group brought it down while it was trying to hide in the dense cornfield.
Aí, ó. Porca bonita, hein?
However, the chase was not over yet. In the soybean field on the other side, another wild boar was charging at breakneck speed, but the pack of hunting dogs quickly closed in. I followed them closely, raised my gun, and shot the animal down. But there were still many other wild boars lurking here, requiring us to concentrate highly to deal with the next targets.
Foi pesada.
The patrol in the field continued without stopping. It seemed like the wild boars had panicked and run away, but from within the field, a black wild boar suddenly appeared and ran as fast as lightning. But its speed could not defeat me. I adjusted my gun carefully and fired 2 more shots, taking down the target immediately. Our field had just been planted, and if we continued to sweep, these wild boars would cause more damage before the crops were harvested. While I was ambushing in a hidden corner, my eyes fell on a wild boar not far away. A single shot rang out, but that was enough to take down the target. The hunt was extremely dramatic. The hunters seemed to be tireless in chasing the wild boars. The final results we got were extremely wonderful. The crop destroyers would pay a heavy price. With relentless hunting efforts, we search everywhere, wherever wild boars can hide. Once we find a target, everyone will focus on chasing and taking them down. It is not easy to eliminate all these destroyers from the field, but we still have to try our best to minimize the damage they cause. We have killed a lot of wild boars on today's hunting trip. However, this war cannot be stopped yet because the number of wild boars is increasing at a rapid rate. Thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Do you believe it? More than 6 million wild pigs are rampaging across the United States, from Texas, Florida to California. They are not just a normal wild animal, but also become the destroyer of the agricultural industry and the environment. Each year, these pigs cause more than $2.5 billion in damage, destroying crops, killing livestock, and even spreading dangerous diseases. They have no natural enemies and reproduce so quickly that authorities have a headache trying to control them. So, who can stop this threat? The answer: professional wild boar hunters. And today I, an experienced hunter, will take you on a dramatic hunting trip where we confront a herd of ferocious wild boars in a life-or-death battle. As soon as we arrived, the atmosphere was tense. The pack of hunting dogs quickly picked up the scent and led us to the trail of a giant wild boar. The footprints on the ground showed its formidable weight. The beast was estimated to weigh around 150 kilograms, a real beast. Without hesitation, the group immediately took up position. I took on the role of the main shooter, focusing all my attention on the target. If the boar ran away, I would be the one to take it down before it could disappear into the forest. Suddenly, without any warning, the boar roared and charged straight out of its hiding place. A giant figure charged at terrifying speed, its eyes bloodshot. I had no time to hesitate. I raised my gun, aiming straight at the target. The bullet was embedded in the boar's neck, causing it to collapse instantly. However, other boars were definitely still lurking somewhere in this vast forest, and our mission was not yet complete. After taking down the first wild boar, the space was only quiet for a moment before the pack of hunting dogs suddenly barked loudly. It was another herd of wild boars running away. Without hesitation, the whole group immediately rushed into pursuit, not giving the saboteurs a chance to escape. In front of us, a herd of about 10 wild boars was running in disarray through the dense trees. They were trying to find a way to escape into the deep forest. If they were allowed to escape, the nearby barley fields would surely become a ruin. The pack of hunting dogs proved to be extremely effective. They dashed, nimbly dodging through each tree trunk and bush to herd the herd of pigs into an open area. This was the opportunity. My teammates and I quickly arranged our shooting positions from 2 directions, ensuring that none of them could escape. Gunshots rang out continuously. The first 2 wild boars were hit and fell down immediately. The remaining wild boars panicked and tried to find a way to escape, but it was too late. Quickly seizing the opportunity, I immediately raised my gun, held my hand steady, and locked on the target. A decisive shot rang out. The bullet went straight into the boar's skull, causing it to collapse immediately. The battle was lightning fast but fierce. Not far away, a vast barley field stretched to the horizon, an ideal place for wild boars to find food. With their greedy and reckless nature, they could not resist the allure of the golden ripe rice. Understanding that, we decided to head to this area, hoping to spot a larger herd of wild boars. Without wasting any time, the pack of hunting dogs quickly dispersed, getting into the right tactical position. They rushed in like arrows, chasing and surrounding the herd of boars from many directions. None of them had a chance to escape. The wild boars panicked and ran in all directions, but the open terrain made it impossible for them to find a place to hide. I stepped forward, intercepting the herd of boars, ready to fire, when a giant wild boar, weighing nearly 180 kilograms, charged towards me. I immediately pulled the trigger. An accurate shot. The bullet hit the monster straight on, causing it to roar fiercely and collapse immediately. The gunshots echoed across the field, driving the remaining wild boars even more crazy. They tried to escape, but the encirclement of the hunting dogs was too tight. I quickly changed targets. Continue firing. 3 more wild boars were hit and collapsed in the middle of the field. The remaining ones were too panicked, not knowing which direction to run, and that made them easy prey for my teammates. Just when we thought the hunt was over, the pack of hunting dogs suddenly barked loudly, heading towards a large tree. Their harsh, aggressive tones signaled something unusual. Something was lurking, silently observing us. Its eyes were bloodshot with anger. It roared powerfully, and then charged at a terrifying speed. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. I only had one chance. I raised my gun. Aimed at the vital point, I pulled the trigger. The bullet flew out, pinned straight into the monster. It stopped. Its legs trembled, and then collapsed to the ground. At this point, I truly believed that the hunting trip was over. It couldn't have been more dramatic. Although we had taken down dozens of wild boars, this was only a small fraction of the millions that were raging across America. They continued to breed, continued to destroy, and this war, perhaps, would never end.
Texas, a vast and fertile land, is facing a never-ending war. The enemy is not humans, not natural disasters, but herds of wild pigs, with a population of up to 2.6 million individuals. They destroy crops, attack people, and disrupt the ecosystem. In this war, hunting is not only a choice, but has become an urgent solution. Wild pigs, with their voracious nature and wild power, destroy everything they come across. Every night, they gather in herds of dozens of individuals, raid the fields, causing damage of up to billions of dollars each year. In particular, the incredible reproductive rate of wild pigs. Each female can give birth to up to 12 piglets per litter, makes control even more difficult. On free days, my friends and I plan to hunt together. Let's join us on today's hunting trip. On the pickup truck, we entered the area that had been reported to have signs of wild boar. The bumpy dirt road led into a wild land where huge herds of wild boar lived. Getting out of the truck, the group prepared carefully. Rifles were checked one last time, ammunition was full, and each person made sure the radio was working properly. The hunting dogs, eager and with sharp eyes, stood waiting for orders. A long and challenging day awaited us. The first hunting area was a hill, where there were many tracks left on the ground. The hunting dogs quickly spread out, sniffing and searching for tracks. Suddenly, from a distance, there was a rumbling sound. A herd of wild boar was moving. We immediately deployed our formation. They spread out, forming a tight circle, blocking all escape routes. The silence was tense. The footsteps became clearer and clearer. And then, the herd of wild boars appeared. They rushed out from the bushes, led by a giant leader, its sharp tusks radiating a dangerous aura. We immediately rushed forward, trying to get close. But the wild boars were not easy to subdue. They suddenly changed direction, rushing in another direction. But the encirclement had been established. Gunshots rang out. We opened fire simultaneously, each bullet hitting the animal's massive body. After a few seconds of fierce resistance, it collapsed, leaving behind its last roars. The remaining wild boars panicked and ran away, but could not break through the encirclement. Each one was taken down by the group's good coordination. Time was running out. Following the trail, we were determined to take down the remaining targets. No wild boar could escape. With the support of our four-legged friends, the search became easier than ever. An adult wild boar with sharp fangs was hiding behind a tree trunk. Gently approaching. It only took me 2 minutes to take down the target. The other wild boars were also quickly found. Finally, after many hours of intense fighting, the spoils were gathered. We checked each wild boar, recorded their number, and assessed their level of danger. The leader, weighing more than 200 kilograms, was the biggest target and also the most difficult challenge today. In particular, with the extremely fast reproduction rate of wild pigs, Texas is still at risk of facing a threatening future. Thank you for following this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next videos.
Setting foot on the snow-covered hills. The temperature was minus 20 degrees Celsius. I felt the cold cut into my bones. Wild boars, animals that are not only scary because of their size, but also because of their aggressiveness, especially in cold weather like this. When food sources are scarce, they become crazy, ready to attack anything that gets in their way. Checking the specialized hunting rifle, we are ready for battle. The forest is covered in white snow, freezing cold. The snow is knee-deep, making each of our steps heavy and slow. Suddenly, the pack of hunting dogs suddenly barked loudly. It seemed like they had discovered something. Following the tracks on the cold snow, we moved forward and realized a giant black shadow, at least 200 kilograms. The pack of dogs began to surround, their barks echoing through the frozen space. They charged, growling menacingly. Unable to hesitate, I raised my gun, aiming straight at the vital weak point on its head. The bullet hit the target, but it did not fall immediately. It went crazy, writhing in agony. Realizing that the opponent still had the strength to resist, the second shot ended it all. The boar collapsed onto the snow, its body trembling, and then completely still. The space fell silent again. There was only the whistling wind and the rapid breathing of the hunting dogs. We had just taken down the first target, but this was not the end. In this dense forest, there were definitely others lurking. We entered a small valley where the terrain gently sloped to a wide, open space between the snow-covered trees. The pack of hounds tensed up, sniffing constantly, signaling that something was moving not far away. It was a wandering wild boar. The wild boar panicked, trying to find a way to escape. Before that happened, I quickly rushed to support. Adjusting the scope, I resolutely pulled the trigger. The shot hit it straight in the shoulder, causing the animal to roar in pain before collapsing completely. At that moment, another boar rushed past my eyes. 2 shots rang out from my teammates. Everything happened so fast. Two other wild boars were taken down on the spot. However, the remaining ones took advantage of the chaos to flee into the deep forest. They disappeared into the thick snow, leaving behind chaotic footprints on the cold ground. Continuing our journey, we advanced along the forest. The pack of hunting dogs moved cautiously, sniffing every trace to track down the wild boars. 3 ferocious wild boars appeared behind the trees. It seemed they had sensed the danger and were trying to hide. The thick snow greatly reduced the flexibility of the herd. There was no time to think. I only had 1 second to act. At a distance of 200 m, we opened fire simultaneously. The 3 wild boars fell one after another after accurate shots. Following the deep tracks in the snow, we went deeper into the center of the forest, a mysterious and dangerous place. But the terrain here was not easy. I clenched my weapon. My eyes darted around, feeling each cold wind seeping through my thick coat. A small sound rang out in the gloomy forest. I signaled my teammates to stop and strain their ears. A herd of about 5 wild boars was lurking among the snow-covered trees. The hunting dogs picked up the scent of their prey and growled warily. I raised my gun, ready to fire. The first bullet hit the leader. It roared in pain and collapsed on the spot. The rest of them ran away in panic, but we were already familiar with their habits. Shots rang out in succession, and one by one they fell. In just a few minutes, the herd of wild boars was completely defeated. The wonderful spoils of war lay on the snow, marking a challenging but extremely successful hunt.
tek kişisinde. Tamam.
$1 million. That was the terrible loss that my friend Adam had just suffered. The wild boars not only destroyed his crops, but also tore apart what he had worked so hard to build. Every night, the ferocious shadows lurked in the deep forest, waiting for the opportunity to attack and tear apart the farm. Luckily, I had some free time recently, so I decided to help him destroy this threat. set off early in the morning. Ahead was a high mountain with dense trees, the perfect place for wild boar to hide after attacks. The hunting dogs were released, sniffing and following the trail. They rushed forward through the bushes, barking loudly to signal that they had discovered their target. My heart was pounding, my hands clenched the gun, ready for the confrontation. A dark shadow suddenly flashed in front. It was a huge wild boar with dark fur and bloodshot eyes. Panicked as it was being chased. Just waiting for that moment, I immediately opened fire. The wild boar staggered, trying to run away, but only took a few steps before collapsing to the ground. Because it was the dry season, the fields that had just been harvested were bare. This was the ideal time for wild boars to come and find food, hiding in the sparse weeds. Unable to let them continue to destroy, I quickly searched, capturing every single movement in the dense grass. Suddenly, a series of rustling sounds rang out from ahead. Immediately, I realized that the herd of wild boars were moving. They frantically ran towards the top of the hill, trying to find a way to escape. Not letting the opportunity slip away, I used all my strength, accelerating to chase. Taking advantage of the terrain, seizing the opportunity, I adjusted the scope and opened fire. The deafening sound kept ringing. After each gunshot was a target being taken down. The wild boars with massive bodies and prominent black fur were scattered everywhere. While chasing the herd of wild boars up the hill, there was a moment when I let my guard down. Taking advantage of that opportunity, a wild boar rushed out from the bushes. I reflexively counterattacked, but this wild boar was too smart. It had already dodged. Quickly regaining my composure, I counterattacked again. The target was taken down, only centimeters away from me. My breathing quickened. My feet rushed forward, chasing the herd of wild boars running up the hill. My mind was completely focused on the prey in front of me. I didn't realize that the real danger was lurking right next to me. A wild boar rushed out from the bushes. I reflexively counterattacked, but this wild boar was too smart. It had already dodged. Quickly regaining my composure, I counterattacked again. The target was defeated, only centimeters away from me. The feeling of tension still lingered. My heart was beating fast, sweat was pouring out. If I was just a second slower, the consequences would be unpredictable. The chaos from the hillside immediately attracted my attention. The sound of dry leaves rustling. It was a herd of wild boars running away in panic, taking advantage of the rugged terrain to hide. They were no longer as aggressive as before. Instead, each one tried to cling to the dense bushes to hide themselves. That only made the hunt more dramatic. I quickly moved to the top of the mountain, taking advantage of the higher terrain to observe everything below. From this angle, I could clearly see the targets trying to escape. Lowering my body, I quietly approached, holding my breath, locking the target in the scope. Seizing the opportunity, I tightened the trigger. Each invader was taken down one by one. The hunt was gradually coming to an end. After that, I continued to pursue other targets, making the atmosphere even more tense and dramatic. The silhouettes of the invaders still appeared and disappeared among the bushes, forcing all my senses to be highly focused. With the skills accumulated and trained over a long period of time, I was able to take down all the invaders, which was really not a bad result. It was really not a bad result. So, our efforts have yielded unexpected results. The number of wild boars killed far exceeded our initial expectations. The carcasses will soon be collected and processed according to the correct procedure.
The cornfield that we had worked so hard to cultivate was finally ready for harvest. The golden corn cobs were ready to be taken to the warehouse. However, the joy did not last long. A herd of wild boars rushed out from the middle of the field, unable to stand by and watch the fruits of our labor being destroyed. We quickly put together a plan to fight back. An impromptu hunting trip began, breathtaking, dramatic, and challenging. After fully equipping myself with weapons, I quickly returned to the cornfield, which had not yet been fully harvested. My intuition told me that the wild boars were still lurking inside. Carefully moving forward, I moved slowly, avoiding making any noise that might alert my prey. Suddenly, from within the corn, a herd of about 10 wild boars suddenly rushed out. There was no time to think. I immediately raised my gun, aimed straight at the biggest one, and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out. The target was instantly taken down. The hunt was not over yet. The wild boars were running away in panic, but this time they had no way out. Realizing that the wild boars were too numerous, I understood that I would not be able to fight them alone. Without hesitation, I immediately called a few more friends and a team of skilled hunting dogs to support me. With a keen sense of smell and hunting instinct, the dogs quickly tracked the trail, forcing the prey out of hiding. A fierce bark rang out, signaling that the target had been discovered. A giant wild boar weighing about 180 kilograms was herded out of the bushes. Sharp fangs, angry but desperate eyes. There was no second chance. I resolutely raised my gun, aimed at the target, and pulled the trigger. The bullet went straight into the boar's body, but it still tried to struggle and stagger away. Before it could get far, its strength was exhausted, and it collapsed right in the middle of the field, ending the dramatic chase. On the other side, my friends had gotten into the perfect ambush position, waiting for the right moment. When the herd of boars appeared, without hesitation, they opened fire simultaneously. The gunshots rang out, tearing apart the silence of the forest. Sparks flashed, signaling the real star of the battle. However, the herd of boars was too numerous, too fast. With speeds of up to 40 kilometers each, they quickly scattered in all directions, creating chaos that made aiming extremely difficult. In the blink of an eye, a few targets were taken down, but most of them escaped the bullets, rushing straight towards the dense forest ahead. The hunt was not over yet. We needed a new tactic to chase and take down the entire herd of wild boars. After the fierce battle, we were happy to have taken down the wild boars. However, something was wrong. The strange movement from the lush green grass right in front of me made me alert. Suddenly, from within the dense grass, a black figure rushed out at a terrifying speed. There was no time to hesitate. I immediately raised my gun. My heart rate increased, but my hands remained steady. The scope quickly locked on the target. An accurate shot. The last wild boar collapsed right in front of me, a perfect headshot ending the tense confrontation. A wild boar broke away from a herd, madly charging towards the open field with the intention of escaping. Unable to let it escape, I immediately accelerated to chase. It was at this moment my finger tightened on the trigger. The bullet cut through the air, hitting the wild boar's side. It stopped but did not fall. Instead of continuing to run, it turned its head sharply, its bloodshot eyes flashing with ferocity. I tightened my grip on the gun, clearly feeling the danger approaching. It was charging straight towards me. Another shot. This time, the shot was more decisive, more precise. The beast paused, its huge legs shaking, then collapsed to the ground. A heavy breath, a tense moment ended. Following the herd of wild boars, we advanced to an open space. With no more trees to cover it, the herd of wild boars gradually became panicked. Realizing the danger, the herd of boars immediately changed direction, scattering everywhere at a dizzying speed. But this was a golden opportunity. With nothing to cover it, the target was completely exposed. The distance gradually shortened. Each individual wild boar entered the sights. Time passed in tension. All senses were activated. At this time, another herd of wild boars, larger and more ferocious, was hiding in the bushes, trying to find a way to escape. But it was too late. Our appearance completely destroyed the wild boars' escape plan. They became panicked. Not being able to miss the opportunity, we raised our guns in unison, aiming straight at the targets in front of us. The sound of gunfire echoed across the field. Each perfect shot, each decisive move, we closed the encirclement, ending the pursuit quickly and decisively. Yesterday was a beautiful day. The air was cool, carrying the light scent of fruit-laden orchards. However, this peace was quickly broken when I received urgent news. A herd of wild boars had invaded the vineyard, destroying the crops and causing serious damage. Without hesitation, I quickly grabbed my specialized hunting rifle, immediately moved to the vineyard, determined to protect the farm from the insolent invaders. The ground was still marked with the footprints of the vandals. The grass was trampled. Bunches of grapes fell everywhere. My eyes scanned every corner of the garden, but there was no sign of the wild boars. It seemed that they had sensed the danger and quickly retreated. Luckily, a dark figure loomed in the bushes in the distance. A wild boar about 70 kilograms, the slow one in the escape. It had detected my presence and immediately sought an escape route. It kept changing direction, making it difficult to aim. Wild boars are agile creatures, able to change speed and direction suddenly to distract their pursuers. But this was not the first time I had faced such an animal. Calmly watching the prey's movements, I waited for the right moment. When it panicked and ran into an open space with no cover, I decisively pulled the trigger. A loud bang rang out, and the animal collapsed at a distance of 100 m. The herd of wild boars could not disappear immediately. They instinctively sought safe shelter. The only direction they could retreat to was the hills in the distance. If not dealt with immediately, they would return in just a few days and cause more damage. I quickly summoned a group of experienced hunters. With a larger force, this time it would be a real battle. The highest hilltop was chosen as an observation point. The group spread out into small groups, surrounding them from many sides. From here, the entire area below could be seen. As expected, a herd of more than 10 wild boars was moving silently under the dense canopy of trees. They thought they could hide, but this time they were wrong. The signal was sent. From many directions, we opened fire simultaneously. The leaders were taken down first, causing the herd to fall into chaos. They tried to escape, but with this tight encirclement, each wild boar was taken down one by one. After the dramatic confrontation on the hilltop, on the way back, when passing through the barley field, we suddenly encountered strange signs. It was a large wild boar, weighing at least 90 kilograms. Its bloodshot eyes flashed with anger. It did not run away like the others. Not giving me time to react, it charged forward at an incredible speed. Every step made the ground shake. With many years of hunting experience, I did not panic in this situation because I understood that only calmness could win. Raising the gun, my finger tightened the trigger. The bullet was pinned straight to the target's head, but it still had enough strength to run a few more steps. Everything seemed to be over. When the group was about to return, another shadow flashed right before their eyes. Another wild boar, perhaps provoked by the gunshot, had run away at a terrifying speed. It moved too fast, unable to be chased by conventional means. The chase lasted for 10 minutes. The boar has incredible stamina, but on the rough dirt road, it gradually loses its advantage. When the distance is close enough, a final shot ends the battle. The boar herd has been pushed back. The vineyard, fields, and farms are safely protected, ending a long, tiring, but victorious day.
long time, the lion is the same, and that makes the baboons and all the animals become afraid when they see their appearance. As when the baboon family was living peacefully and happily together, the predator came and broke everything. As this makes the baboons even more hostile for lions. For their revenge, baboons can do anything, and even kill their opponent's young. As the baboons have a dog-like muzzle, a heavy body, strong jaw muscles with sharp fangs, and eyes close together. They have thick fur, expected for their hairless face and rump, which allows them to sit comfortably. As the male monkeys also appear larger with white manes. And the baboons live in groups and are clearly hierarchical, with members and rulers defined by how they communicate. As they can move around a forest area in the search of food and a place to live. As the baboons not only forage in trees, but they also often come down to the ground in the search of food. Sometimes they even dare to challenge the leopard in territorial disputes. However, due to being busy looking for food, the baboon did not know that he had fallen into the deadly sights of the lion. As thanks to this skillful camouflage and a quick attack, the lion had ended the fate of the baboon cub in front of the herd. As every time the baboon cub is killed, the feud between the baboon and the lion grows more intense. And when the feud reaches its climax, the baboon had caused the lion to suffer an excruciating pain. As this baboon had just kidnapped a lion cub from its mother and then carried it around the tree, from tree to tree. As it seems that the lion cub is very weak, and maybe the baboon has injured it. As we don't know what the end of the lion cub will be, but possibility is that it will be torn apart by the baboons. And because when they're hungry, baboons will eat anything to fill their stomachs. As with lions, they will never let themselves be defeated and lose their reputation on the African savannah. As when the ruler gets angry, you can guess the outcome. Obviously, climbing the tree is to the baboon's advantage. But with lions, this is not necessarily true. As after discovering the baboon was still in the tree, the lion had climbed up into the tree to attack the enemy. However, the baboon is very cunning, as it quickly climbs to the top of the tree to avoid the lion's pursuit. After a while of climbing up the tree to chase the enemy, without any result. The lion now only knows how to reluctantly stay under the tree, waiting for the right opportunity. Although the baboon in the tree had repeatedly provoked the lion, it still refused to give up its revenge. And as long as the baboons come down to the ground to feed, waiting for them will certainly be a painful death. As finally, the opportunity came, because one baboon was so hungry that he had risked his life to the ground looking for food. The lion had quickly rushed in to attack the enemy. And seeing this, the baboon not only did not run away, but also bravely confronted the lion. As even the lion was chased by the baboons. After chasing the predator, the baboon did not run away, but it still stood to challenge the lioness. As because of his aggressive nature, the baboon later paid a heavy price when it was killed by the lion. As possessing sharp claws and teeth, with successive bites in the neck area, causing the prey to gradually die. It can be seen that under the fierce attack of the lion, the baboon was unable to resist. As a merciless revenge that the king of the grassland gives to the enemy who dares to touch its children. And still knowing how pitiful the baboons are, we can't intervene with this, but just watch everything that happens in a natural way. As in this cruel and harsh wild world, the loss of children and attack by enemies and cannibalism happens frequently. However, each animal species will have a different behavior. As today's video comes to an end, thank you all so much for watching our videos. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.